I'm the CEO of a company called Klippa, and at Klippa we make software to automate administrative work. If you want to grow to other countries, you have to know other languages and cultures, and business cultures can be quite diverse in Europe. We all think that it's one unified place, but it's not that much actually. So when you want to do local business, you need local knowledge. And for us it was very important to have people that are native German, native French, native Spanish, to be able to do business in those countries from a language perspective, from a culture perspective, so change our sales and marketing towards these different cultural aspects. I think at Klippa half of the team is international, so if you like to and collaborate with Dutch people and collaborate with other international people, that you find a nice mix here. We also see that a lot of internationals are very ambitious, and I think that fits very well with a scale-up, because we want to grow 100% every year, and if you want to achieve that you also need to be very ambitious. So I think there's usually a good fit there. I think internationals, there are many in Groningen, but they're also usually here for their study period. So many of them I don't think necessarily envision that they actually start their careers in Groningen. So you have to find the ones that are not here just to study, but are here to build their life for the next 10 years perhaps. Yeah. So finding those people, that was really important for us. Klippa is IND registered sponsor, so we can actually hire people from outside the EU as well. It is a little bit more complicated, time-consuming process. So I think for many companies it's not the preferred option, but we have the option to do so if the right talent is coming in. So we have an onboarding process for all people, both Dutch and international people, and we put a lot of emphasis on culture at Klippa, and we think culture is very important because in general it determines how you operate as a company, and we say that work should be more than just work. So you can go to any company from 9 to 5 and just do your work. But if you're an international, I think especially, there's also a more need for a network, a local network. So making friends and getting to know people in the country, and then having a culture that does more than work. So we organize a lot of events, people go sporting together. All these types of things allow you to make friends or family, how we like to call it, is a lot easier, I think, for international people. So it helps them to be more bound to Groningen, and I think that is important. But again, I'm not international, but I think if you want to start hiring internationals, you have to make sure that your company culture also fits that. So you have to adapt speaking English in groups. You have to make company documentation in English. These things are important, because if you get somebody on board as a first English speaker and everything is in Dutch, all the conversations are in Dutch, emails are in Dutch, documentations are in Dutch, then it's going to be very hard for that person to feel at home in your company, but also be successful. So if you want to hire internationals, then do the preparation that is needed to do so. We welcome international applications. There's very specific roles where we only have Dutch applications. So for example, our HR manager, because you have to have knowledge of Dutch law and regulation, then it makes sense to also speak Dutch to help the Dutch colleagues with law and regulation and the international colleagues with law and regulations. So certain specific vacancies are only for Dutch, but 80% is for internationals. In our company, you have to speak English because our clients are also English. So even if we would not have international colleagues, you would still have to speak English, at least with our clients. So in all our general communication internally is English. Our client communication is either English or German or French. So I would say in our company at least, less than half of the people speak Dutch anyway. So yeah, Dutch is not that important actually, English is important. I think when you just start with hiring internationals, that it's important to understand that culture is just different. So that because they are culturally different, they can not be used to, for example, a very direct way of communication, which for Dutch people, and specifically people in the north of the Netherlands, is very normal. So I think being aware of certain things to take into consideration. So for example, I sometimes tend to explain to international people like, hey, please understand, we are very direct. That doesn't mean that we are rude, or doesn't mean that you're not nice. That's just how we operate with each other. And in the Netherlands, it's seen as a common thing, and actually an efficient way to get across feedback. So we expect you to do the same to us, and you can expect that from us as well. And I think a little bit expectation management on this is how Dutch culture is. So be prepared for that. I think makes a lot of sense, because it's just not the same. In Germany, for example, it's very different, very much a hierarchy culture. And in the Netherlands, it's very flat. So in the Netherlands, you can go to your boss and say, hey, why don't we change the X or Y or Z? In Germany, you would not do that easily, for example. So it's good that people know what the culture is like. If you have an international profile, you work with international clients, then for sure. If you are only oriented in the Netherlands, then I would say it is maybe not a necessity, but it's very hard to find people, so why not find English-speaking people?